Look, meditation is hard, and I get that. Because at some point, I was just like you. I consistently tried to meditate over and over and over and over, but to no avail. I would maybe get a 1 day streak, 2 day streak, 3 days at best, but then no luck. I'd continually reset, and I could never seem to get consistent at meditation, and I never knew why. But now, fast forward a few months, and suddenly my meditation streak is above 50, above 60 even. So what changed? What caused me to instantly be able to meditate for over 2 months straight with not a single day missed? Well, let me show you. Before we get into this video, there's first something you need to understand. Every single habit we form follows a 4-step process. That is cue, craving, response, and reward. Keep that in mind. This is going to be important. First, we have the cue. That's the thing that reminds you to do the habit. Without that, you'd never remember to do the habit, and it would never happen. Second is the craving. This is the feeling of actually wanting to do the habit. If you never wanted to do the habit, you'd never do it. Third is the response. That's the actual doing of the habit, the actual action of completing the habit. And then finally, as number 4, we have the reward. What do you get once you complete this habit? Do you receive a positive reaction or a negative one? Your body looks at this to understand, should I repeat this habit again or should I not? This 4-step process is really important, and it was brought to my attention by this book called Atomic Habits. If you haven't read it, you should. It's a great book. But going into this video, we're going to be looking at this process, this model of these 4 steps to understand how we can implement and optimize every single one of these steps to turn meditation into a habit we can easily execute every single day without exception. The first step is the cue. Now, if you don't already have a consistent time that you meditate at every single day, find that now. I'm serious. Pause this video, go to your schedule, and look through what is a time you can meditate at every single day. Found it? Good. Because when we don't have a consistent time to meditate, it's just like you keep delaying it and you're like, oh, I'll do it later. Oh, I'll do it after. Oh, no, I don't have the time. Well, if you have a time, right? Not only does that remove the excuse of procrastination, it also acts as your cue. You can set an alarm on your phone, set a reminder, or just try to remember yourself. Every time it becomes, let's say you chose 7 p.m. Every time the clock hits 7 p.m., that's your cue. Your brain goes, now I gotta meditate. And you instantly know that you've gotta meditate. Otherwise, well, you're either gonna forget or you're gonna procrastinate. So just all you have to do is set a time, and that's instantly gonna make you way more likely to do the habit. Another really important process in the cue is something called an action statement. I want you to grab a pen and a piece of paper, anything you can write with right now, and I want you to write down very specifically in detail, tomorrow at 7 p.m. or whatever time you chose, right? And you're going to say, I'm going to meditate for X amount of minutes, right? Pretty simple. Tomorrow at the time you've chosen, say, I'm going to meditate for a X amount of minutes. So simple. All you have to do is write it down. But as it turns out, just writing the statement down, just writing down what you're going to do, solidifies it in your mind. It makes it a solid thing that you have written down that you're going to do, and suddenly you can't find excuses to not do it anymore because you've written down, I will do this at this time. What's your excuse? There is no excuse. That's why this is so powerful. But that being said, now that you can consistently remember when and where to do the meditation, next step is the craving. So for craving, or put more simply, just the motivation to do the activity, this is actually tied a lot to step 4, which is the reward that you're going to get from the activity, which we are going to talk about. But what can you do to make yourself crave doing meditation more? Because we all know that feeling when oh, like it's time to meditate and I really, really don't want to. I just don't feel like it at all. And you can use discipline in this scenario. Just say, okay, I'm going to push through this. I'm going to just do it. Even though I don't want to, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go through and do it. But sometimes you won't have discipline. And also, it's nice to want to do it. So one thing you can do is constantly remind yourself of all the benefits you're going to get from doing this meditation. Just like find some studies, look at all the benefits that come from meditation. And trust me, there are a lot. And just constantly remind yourself of these. Tell yourself you will get these if you meditate. And that's going to make you more motivated to meditate. Or you can also make it so that you have to meditate to do an activity you want. So let's say you really want to go outside and play soccer every day. That's something you really like to do. But you determine it so that you have to meditate before you go out to play soccer. So suddenly now you want to meditate. You want to do it so that you can go and play soccer outside. And that's also another way to optimize this step 2. Now, step 3, the response. The response is basically the actual doing of the habit. You actually performing this habit and getting it done, in which case, meditating. So how do we make this better? Basically, all you have to do is make the habit as easy as possible to do. In this scenario with meditation, that could be just lowering the amount of time, right? Let's say you're trying to do 10 minutes a day and it's just not working because you're like, oh, it's such a difficult task. I don't have 10 minutes. Okay, don't do 10 minutes then. If you can't be consistent with a given amount of time, then lower the amount of time. Because think about it. If I tell you to meditate for 1 second right now, is that hard? You can do that right now. Every day you can meditate for 1 second. That's easy. Okay. So let's move it up to 3 seconds. You can do that. 5 seconds, 10 seconds. Obviously you're not going to do this low, but keep going on that scale. Okay, 30 seconds. I can do 30 seconds. 1 minute. I can do a minute. 3 minutes. Yeah, I can do a minute, but 5, I'm not sure I can do. Okay. Then do 3 minutes. Do whatever you can do super consistently. Make the task as easy as you can for you to be able to do it consistently. And then once you are able to do meditation, let's say at 3 minutes every single day consistently, then you can bump it up to 5. Then you can bump it up to 10. And now, instead of, trying to do 10 minutes from the start and never getting it, you've just progressed. It's like progressive overloading in the gym. No one's going to go into the gym and start with like the heaviest weights there once you've never gone to the gym. No, that's not how it works. Start with the smaller weights, then move up to heavier. It's the same with meditation. You can't just run in expecting to do perfectly on your first attempt. So just make it shorter, make it easier, whatever you have to do to get consistent. Step 4, the reward. This one's actually the easiest out of the bunch, and a lot of you guys don't even have to change anything for this step because a lot of meditation apps these days just do this step for you. For example, your streak. Every time you meditate, every time you finish that meditation, you get to see that number go up. Oh, you were at a 2-day streak, now it's 3. That's a reward. That signals dopamine to go off in your brain because your brain's like, look, the numbers, they went up. Celebration. And yes, your brain is kind of stupid in that sense, but it works, and that's all that matters. You see that number for the streak go up, and you're like, yo, this is good. I want to keep doing this. You see the total number of minutes meditated go up. You're like, oh, this is great. You see the total number of sessions meditated go up. Oh, that's so great. That's the reward. And when you get this reward, your brain is like, see, now I want to do this again because I want to get that reward again. If you currently had a 60-day meditation streak, would you be like, I'll skip today's? No. You've got a 60-day streak waiting for you. Who in their right mind would have like a huge streak waiting and just be like, I don't really... No. Nobody's going to do that because if you did, well, now you have to spend another 60 days to get that streak back. That's stupid, right? This streak is already your reward. And if you're going to do it like non-digitally, not using an app, and if you don't know what app to use, first of all, I'd recommend Medito. It's totally free and a lot of people recommend it. But if you were willing to spend more money, I'd also recommend this app called Headspace, but then again, it is kind of expensive. It needs money. It's a paid subscription. So choose based on that. But if you're not going to use an app, just find a different way of, giving yourself a stat or just giving something that will reward you every time you do it. Like mark your streak on like a piece of paper, or, have 2 jars, right? And there's a bunch of objects in one of the jars. Every time you meditate, you get to move one of those like pieces, one of those things in the jar into the other jar, and then you get to see that like jar fill up as you meditate more and more and more, and like wanting to see that jar fill up motivates you to meditate more. Just find yourself a reward you can give for meditating, and that's going to make you want to do it more. So with all that said, we've gone through all 4 necessary steps that will help you form a habit, and in this case, we've done a deep dive into meditation, but keep in mind, you can do this for any habit, really. I mean, the video, yes, it's about meditation, but if you find these variables, aka the cue, the craving, the response, the reward, and optimize each 4 for every habit in your life, anything, any habit, right? And you optimize the cue, the craving, the response, and the reward, it's going to make it easier to perform all of those habits. I promise you, these are the 4 core principles of all habits, and every habit book you read will confirm this. Atomic Habits, great book, as I mentioned. You can read that to get more information. But applying these specific tips that I've given you on meditation, I promise you, if you use these correctly, this is like a foolproof method of instantly being able to meditate more consistently. And understand, yes, you can't just expect to have these tips go in and suddenly, boom, you're never going to miss a day again in your life. No. Even when I was implementing these tips, I actually got a really good streak at first. I was like over 20 days in. I was like, yes, this is so good. But then we went on a trip somewhere else, and then I was like, oh, I'm staying somewhere else, and it kind of like threw off my schedule, and then suddenly I couldn't find the time to meditate, or just kind of like forgot to meditate, and now my streak was gone. Yes, things happen. This is life. You expect to fail. You can't expect perfection on your first attempt doing anything. But these tips, hopefully, when implemented, will help you improve your consistency at meditation and just getting better bit by bit. Even if it's just a tiny bit, getting better, improvements, that's really what matters. So, I hope this video has helped you, and I'll see you all next time.